You'd never guess it from these tranquil surroundings, but our location today is just a 10-minute drive from the centre of Wolverhampton. And at first glance, it looks Tudor, but in fact, it's a Victorian house designed deliberately to look like a medieval manor house. And there are more surprises inside. Welcome to the Antiques Roadshow from Wightwick Manor. We think of stately homes as belonging to the landed gentry. Well, not this one. This was built in 1887 by Theodore Mander, the owner of a thriving Wolverhampton paint and varnish business. But he wasn't your typical self-satisfied, self-made Dickensian factory owner. He was a loving father, a man who cared deeply about the welfare of his workers and about the finer things in life, like poetry, literature and the arts. When Oscar Wilde visited Wolverhampton as part of his world tour, he was talking about the virtues of the house beautiful, part of his mission to teach the middle classes about good taste. Now, Theodore was listening to that lecture and returned home inspired, determined to implement Wilde's ideas. So with his beloved wife Flora by his side, he set about creating the perfect family home in the best possible taste. Fabrics and furnishings by William Morris, tiles by William de Morgan, and stained glass by one of the foremost Victorian makers, Charles Kemp. It's full of the most exquisite work from the arts and crafts movement. But being an industrialist, he also embraced new technology and insisted on having all the latest mod cons installed, like central heating and electricity. In 1900, tragedy struck. Aged just 47 and shortly after becoming mayor of Wolverhampton, Theodore Mander became seriously ill. And at a time when there was only a rudimentary understanding of infection, many Victorians opted to be operated on in their own homes. And Theodore Mander was operated on for an abscess of the liver on this kitchen table. Sadly, he didn't survive. But luckily for us, Theodore Mander's house remains. Now looked after by the National Trust, Wightwick Manor is a shining example of Victorian taste, and the perfect place for our experts to meet the residents of Wolverhampton. And why not test your antiques knowledge by trying our valuation game? To take part, press red on your remote control. We'll give you your final score and roadshow rating at the end of the programme. Good luck!
Gold, sapphires, diamonds blazing in the sun here. A history from Holy Russia. How does it come to Wightwick Manor?
It belongs to my dad's family, who is Czech, and it's got a nice little story behind it. It was given to my great-great-granddad, who was a gamekeeper in Moravia at the time, and at the turn of the century, a descendant of the Czar's family, Nicholas Nikolaevich Romanov, came to the area, and my great-great-granddad organised a big hunt for him. And to show his appreciation, he gave my great-great-granddad this.
Isn't that marvellous? Well, in a funny way, we have to take ourselves back to what was a feudal dynasty in a country that was so enormous that when the sun was coming up on one side, it was going down on the other. And it was presided over by a dynasty called the Romanovs, who had an incalculable fortune. And of course, it led to the Russian Revolution. And these imperial gifts were not unusual in their lives. They gave them here, there and everywhere. When the Tsar of Russia came to Sandringham, he gave the man at Wolverhampton station who opened the train door a stick pin such as this. But it doesn't diminish it in any way. This is a jewel, and your ancestor would have worn it with great pride, huge distinction, because these people had a sort of almost godlike hold over Russia. And Nikolai Nikolaevich was actually the grandson of Nicholas I of Russia. So his descent was absolutely perfect, and this will be one part of a gift. And I had a little look at it earlier, and I wanted to attribute this to the greatest of all the court jewellers, Fabergé, but unfortunately I can't. I think the fitted case is untypical of Fabergé, but it's certainly made by one of his prime competitors, perhaps Bolin, Ovchinnikov, Klebnikov, and its magic is all the same, without a shadow of doubt. After the revolution, the White Russians had no Tsar. Their Tsar had been murdered, and a large proportion of the family had been murdered. And so they had to elect somebody who had survived the revolution. And Nikolai Nikolaevich was actually accepted as the last Tsar of Russia, even though the Romanov dynasty had passed. So you do, in a sense, have, by default, a stick pin from the Tsar of Russia, which is very exciting stuff indeed.
Yes.
That's a good thing to know, isn't it?
Is.
But anyway, here we see it. Cabochon sapphires, very soft cut, pure gold colour, and diamonds with this strange, almost like a portcullis design below, but of course this is his conjoined initials in Cyrillic, the two N's, which are like HH conjoined together, for Nikolai Nikolaevich. So it's a stunning souvenir of an imperial dynasty that ended in catastrophe for the Romanovs, and so it's powerful stuff, isn't it?
It is,
And
yes,
how are we going to measure that power, do you think? It's hard.
I've no idea. I honestly didn't think it was much at all.
No, well, I think it's much. I think it really is much.
Really
I think it's worth £4,500 to £5,000.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
It's been sent over from France for today, so I think the relatives in France are going to be very happy as well.
Well, maybe you'll say it
My
never
dad,
arrived.